Hey guys, Eddie here from Delete Property. Today I want to do another video for you guys just to share a bit of valuable information that I've learnt along my property investment journey. So today, the video is basically about properties that are listed online for sale. Can they actually already be sold? And when do they get updated? When do they turn from available, then turn to under offer? Sometimes you'll see the agent changing it online, and then when do they actually go change to sold and get filtered into sold properties? And just I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, properties listed on realestate.com.au and also Domain. So I've been surfing realestate.com.au and Domain for 12, 13 years, since before I could even buy a property basically. There's a lot of things that I guess people starting out, when they first look on realestate.com and Domain, they don't really understand. They don't realize there's different ways you can filter properties and find properties. So I guess this video came about, and why I thought about doing the videos basically because I was speaking with a buyer's agency client recently, and it was about a property. The particular property was an urgent price reduction. So that particular one, which is very, most of them are off market sales, of course, but that particular one was actually on the market, and it has recently had a massive price drop because the owners were very urgent to sell, and they dropped the price. It was basically a fantastic property, and it got basically snapped up, unfortunately. So because they dropped the price, everybody jumped on it at once, and we were trying to we had it negotiated, but someone came over the top with a higher offer basically, and pretty much we got gazumped. And that's one of the things that happened quite frequently when you're trying to purchase properties that are urgent sales, price reductions, trying to pick up properties below market value. You get gazumped a lot when sometimes other buyers agents have access to it too. Even though a property might be off the market, not on Real Estate Domain, a lot of buyers agents and property investors sometimes have access to it regardless through different various real estate agents, bank administrators, whatever the case may be. But basically, this particular property, it had already basically gone under contract, and the question was like, well, it says it's still available. This is what they basically said. It says it's still available. And I realized that it's common knowledge to myself, but a lot of people haven't tried to negotiate tens of thousands of properties basically, so they wouldn't really understand it. But long story short, when a property is online for sale, a real estate agent behind the scenes, whoever's listing it, maybe they're from LJ Hooker, maybe they're from Rain & Horn, Ray White, McGrath, whatever it is, they have the access and the ability to, at any moment, change the listing price. So they can put it up, they can put it down, they could change the listing price from $500,000 to contact agent. It's at the switch of a button, basically. They can do it on their phone a lot of the times as well. So real estate and domain prices, one thing, can change in a heartbeat. Just because it's listed for $500,000 does not mean it's worth less than that. It could be worth more than that. It's just a range of value, basically. So basically behind the scenes, they can change the price. Another thing, and the main thing that I want to talk about, is if a property is online, what some real estate agents do, and if real estate agents out there listening to this video, don't get offended or anything like that, but I know it does happen quite often. So whether a property is online for sale or whether a property is online for rent, basically, if a property is already under contract, some real estate agents, as an example, they don't actually change the listing to under contract, or don't actually even change it to sold. It could be for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, sometimes 6 months or longer, until after it's actually sold. So a lot of properties that you might see online on realestate.com, you might think they're available at first glance, but they could already be gone. You don't actually know until you actually pick up the phone and call the agent and find out what's going on with it. So a lot of properties that you find online, basically, they can already be gone. You may be looking and spending an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours trying to find properties that are listed on Real Estate Domain, and do the research before you actually pick up the phone call and call them. It could be gone. So usually, and in the past when I was actually calling up ones that are online and things like that, and I don't really do that anymore because most properties we get access to before they hit the market or are off market sales. Most of them. Some occasionally will still be on. But the best thing to do is you just pick up the phone instead of and actually talking to someone rather than going through every single facet of information, spending 3-4 hours of time, then calling up to see and confirming it's still available. So basically for me, it's all about time. I wouldn't waste any time for that. Pick up the phone and make a phone call regardless. But I guess, so when a property goes under contract, so basically someone signed a contract on it, meaning it's not settled yet, but it's in the process kind of thing, usually an agent should update it to under contract. Why they would not update it to under contract sometimes, and why they'll even leave it online sometimes for another week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks until after it's actually sold, is because you think about it from a marketing point of view. When a property is online for sale, basically, it's a lead generation. So when a property is on Real Estate or Domain, you'll have the inquiry button down the bottom, which I'm sure you guys have seen. Basically, people can inquire and send in their phone number, their email address. People might call them up, and a real estate agent behind the scenes wants you or wants whoever is interested in that property to call them up because they want to add them to their database of buyers. They want to add them to potential people that they can then sell other properties to. So even if, as an example, this property is sold, they might leave it online for rent or for sale. So online for sale or for rent, just to get more leads in the door so that they can basically say, oh, sorry, that property's gone now, but I've got another one around the corner that's might tickle your fancy. You might be interested in that one. So a lot of real estate agents do this, whether it's on Domain or Real Estate or any other advertising kind of platform. They'll leave the ad up, even if it's already sold, even if the property, maybe it's a rental property, and a lot of tenants inquire because they want to go check out, go to an open home. They want to apply for put an application forward to potentially rent that property. A lot of those ones are already gone, and real estate agents again will leave them online because it's a lead generation. So they might have like 300 people inquire, and out of that they get to keep their phone number, their email address, their contact details, their first name, last name, whatever, and then they can add them to their database and then use those details, call them up and see if they're interested in other properties similar to it. So that's just a little bit of behind the scenes. I'm not saying all real estate agents do this, but a lot of them do. So a thing to bear in mind with this behind the scenes is that this can skewer data that's on Real Estate and Domain. So as an example, there's properties out there that I've seen in Western Sydney and also in the Brisbane market. They've been sold for 2.5-3 years. The original listing was like in 2017, 2016. It's been sold for 2, 3, almost 4 years now, right? And it's been sold, but it's still advertised online for sale. It's still advertised as under contract, but it's been sold for like a year or 2 years. So there's lots of ones out there that have been sold for 3 months, 6 months, and they're still advertised online for sale. You call them up and they're just, oh, it's sold, but I've got another one similar around the corner. So that's why a lot of agents behind the scenes do that. They'll leave them online for as long as they can. They shouldn't, but that's what often happens. What happens behind the scenes with that is that it affects the data on Real Estate and Domain sometimes. So as an example, if a real estate agent leaves a advertised rental property up there listed for rent, and they've listed it and then they've rented it to a tenant within the first 1 to 2 weeks, right? So they've rented it within the first 1 to 2 weeks, then they'll leave it up there as a lead generation to get other potential tenants that are looking for those kind of properties to rent. They'll leave it up there for another 2 months as an example. So for 8 weeks longer, they'll leave it up. What does that do to the data on realestate.com? When a person runs a report for properties around the area, how long it takes to rent them, it show, because the agent hasn't shown that it's been rented within 2 weeks, it's took an additional 8 weeks before they actually switch the advertising bit off, then it's 10 weeks until that property technically got rented on paper when it's been rented 8 weeks ago. So I hope that kind of makes sense a little bit, but it skews the data on real estate and domain. So many things can impact the data on real estate domain. So a lot of people look at gross statistics and how long a property's been on the market for sale, average time it takes to sell a property. And when you're looking at individual properties, it's really a case-by-case scenario. You've got to understand that a million things can happen behind the scenes. Data can be skewed, and there's 1,000 different things that can impact that. So I just wanted to share this video to explain information and knowledge that I've learned along the way, that even though a property could be listed online for rent or for sale, it may have been sold or rented 1 month, 2 months, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, a year ago. It's really a case-by-case scenario, but agents will often leave it up there to generate leads and inquiries so they can add them to their database. So I hope this video helps. As always, there's not any financial advice or anything like that. It's just information, knowledge that I've learnt from my years of investing to help you guys build your own property portfolio. So I hope that video helps. Any questions, email me through, comment below if you found this video helpful, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks guys, bye.